Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. John Demartini. For the last 47 years, I have been involved in studying human behavior, anything that can maximize human awareness and potential, the evolution of human consciousness, and have been lecturing. I've been traveling all over the world. I've been blessed to study over 30,000 texts in many different fields, over 297 different fields, to do whatever I can to help maximize the human experience. And Kiala asked me to do a little intro on myself because I am keep delivering some content to you that you'll be able to access that I really believe will help you achieve more and go after the things that you really want in life and do it fluently and be able to have fulfillment in your life in the ways that you might not have been able to have before. I've been teaching, as I said, for many, many years, and I teach about 76 courses and about 1,000 intro presentations. And so I really know that the content that I'll be present will be practical for you and useful to you. And I thank Kala for giving me this opportunity to share what's inside me for all these years of study with you, so you can now do something extraordinary, even more extraordinary than you've already done. So stay tuned, pay close attention. If you have to go over it many times and listen to it multiple times, then great. I have a tendency to be content rich, so you'll have to listen carefully. And I look forward to hopefully hearing about your great achievements, because you want to give yourself permission to do something extraordinary on the planet, and the true you is extraordinary. So let's let that extraordinary part of you get out and do the thing that you want to do as an entrepreneur and achieve the wealth that you want, the relationship you want, the fulfillment you want in each area. So I look forward to sharing this with you. That's my little intro, and I look forward to hearing from you on the great results you'll have in your life. With the light and create. Hi, I'm Dr. John Demartini. When I was 18 years old, I had a desire to want to master my life. And as I've traveled all these 47 years of my teaching and asked people how many of you want to master their life, most every hand goes up. And so to me, the mastery of life is the mastery of all of the primary areas of life. And that is mastering our mind development, waking up our genius, mastering our vocational development, which is waking up our career success and achievement, mastering our financials, which is financial independence, mastering our familial, so we can have a global loving family and intimacy, mastering our social influence, which is waking up our leadership, and waking up next is our physical, which is having a vital, handsome and attractive and magnetic body, and also our spiritual quest, which is being inspired by the mission that we hold in our heart. And so I'm going to be talking about all 7 of those. Now, I have had that dream to do that. I had a dream at 18 to master my life. And I had a dream to do exactly that. I wanted to create original ideas that served humanity and wake up my genius. I wanted to have an international business that touched the people in every country in the world. I had a desire to have financial independence, where my money's working for me and I'm not having to work. I work because I love to. A global family dynamic. So instead of having to walk room to room, I fly room to room. I had a desire to have social influence and meet amazing people, which I've been blessed to do. Thousands of people that have made a difference in the world. And I've also had a desire to have an inspiration to live inspired life and also physically fit. And I think at 65, I'm doing pretty good. I keep a very intense schedule and I'm doing pretty good for 65. But I wanted to empower all those. And to me, that was a masterful life. But in order to do that, in all the studies in the last 47 years on human behavior, I realized that the very cornerstone in order to fulfill that is the mastery and understanding of who you are and what your values are. Because your perceptions, your decisions and actions, which determine your destiny, really come from your values. And even though you've probably seen some videos about values that I presented before, without a doubt, I really can't do justice to human behavior and mastering life without doing at least a brief intro again on that topic. Because each of those areas are going to be impacted by that. And so I'd like to start with that by saying that every individual lives by a set of priorities, a set of values, and whatever's highest on that list or hierarchy of values or set of priorities that's highest on that list is what we spontaneously are inspired from within to do. It's the most meaningful, fulfilling, most purposeful thing that we can do. It is basically the thing that is most profound that we get to fulfill in our life. But as we go down the list of values, we'll tend to procrastinate, hesitate, and frustrate, and tend to not achieve in that area. If you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, your day fills up with low priority distractions that don't. And if you fill it with high priorities, you grow in self-worth. If you do it in low priorities, you lower self-worth. So every one of the areas of our life is going to be impacted by the relationship of how we act relative to our hierarchy of values. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go around and I'm going to start with the mental. I'm going to go to vocational. I'm going to go to financial, familial, social, physical, and then spiritual, and give you some very important highlights that I'm absolutely certain, if they're applied and thought through and integrated, will help you master those 7 areas, because you deserve to master those areas. You deserve and are here to do something extraordinary. And by incorporating the mastery of those 7 areas, it increases the probability of you having more fulfillment in life. And in my breakthrough experience, which is a program I've done 1,080 times in the last 30 years, and asked thousands of people, tens and hundreds of thousands of people, in fact, who have attended, when an individual is single looking for a mate, they're looking for a mate that has power in all those areas. They're looking for somebody that's healthy and fit and attractive. They're looking for somebody that's intelligent. They're looking for somebody that's got ambition to achieve. They're looking for somebody that has resources economically. They're looking for somebody that really wants to be with them and is loving and intimate to them. They're looking for somebody that is really, socially savvy and socially connected and influential and has a network. They're looking for somebody that's physically fit, as I said, and they're also looking for somebody who's inspired. And so I'm going to share with you things on how you can put all of those together in one package, so you have more of a package to offer in case you're single, or if you're already married, a package to keep your mate intrigued and magnetically drawn to you because you have something to offer. So the more you have to offer, the more you get to have in your life as a reward. So let's start. I'm going to start with a mind development, and we're going to build from there. And again, I'll be referring to values. So if you have had the opportunity to go back and listen to some of the videotapes I've done on values that Kiala's been able to share with you, please go back and review those again, because it's more meaningful than first meets the eye, values. Out of all the 47 years of study and the 297 disciplines that I've studied, and I can assure you that that's the cornerstone of mastering and maximizing your life. So we're going to start with the mental area. Now, your brain is a highest value seeking and fulfilling organ. And so I want you to use this analogy for a second. I want you to imagine a tree. And you probably noticed that a tree, when the leaves are able to get to the sun and activate photosynthesis with the light and create, in a sense, the compounds of sugars and things that it makes, the tree branch grows very strong. And if a branch goes and gets shaded out and can't reach the light, it eventually decays and dies. We are the very same thing, except our highest value is like the light and our lower values is like the shade. And whenever we are able to perceive, make decisions, and act in a way with our sensory, our interneurons, and our motor neurons in our brain in a way that fulfills our highest values, our glial cells, which outnumber our nerve cells in the brain, cause myelinization, nutrification, and you might say neurogenesis to grow the brain, to maximize the potential of the brain. And so anytime we're doing something that is high in our values, our brain is expanded and growing, particularly our frontal cortex, which is our executive center, which gives us our power and our leadership and makes us master of destiny, not victim of history. So anytime you're doing actions that you perceive as helping you fulfill your highest values, you literally develop your brain. Your executive center actually gets blood glucose and oxygen every time you're doing high priority things, and you maximize the brain potential and allow it to have governance over the lower subcortical regions of the brain. So whenever you're doing things that are high in your values, you're literally electrifying the brain and allowing it to master and maximize its effect. So you want to make sure that you understand your values. So if you have not taken the time to go online and get the value determination done or review that, please take the time to get clear about what your hierarchy of values really is. Do it multiple times if necessary until you feel certain, till what you discover in your value determination matches really clearly your actions, decisions, and your behaviors. Once you do that, you're having a starting point, a foundation that's very, very empowering. But just know that your brain is a telos, highest value, seeking and fulfilling organ. And it's going to do everything it can to help you live the most masterful, most meaningful, and most fulfilling, and most authentic life. And the second you live authentically and integrally to that, the brain maximizes its potential. And you want to do that. You wake up your genius. Now, let me explain that. You've probably seen a young boy who does his video games and loves his video games and can sit there for hours and do the video games. If you ask him to do his chores, his homework, or his schoolwork or something, or clean up his room, he procrastinates, hesitates, and frustrates because it's low in his values. But you ask him to do his video games, and he goes full on with it. He can spend hours doing it. And the second he conquers a video game, which he will, he'll tend to want to go on to a more advanced game. And going on to a more advanced game, there's a tendency when we live by our highest values, we want to tackle challenge. We don't want to shrink from challenge. We want to tackle challenge. And it's the tackling of challenge and pursuing challenges that inspire us that wakes up innovation, creativity, and genius. So your genius is maximized to the degree that you pursue what's really most meaningful and fulfilling to you and your highest value. So if you want to wake up your genius and create original ideas, that's not not a borrowed vision from other people, but a original thinking. It's pursuing things that truly inspire you. That's the key. Now, you're also probably in life going to feel at times that you have to learn things that you feel obligated to learn. Sometimes you have to learn, for instance, if you're learning how to drive a car, you got to learn all the rules on the road. If you're at work, you may have a job description that some of those things that you feel like you have to learn new things for, because it's a constant learning process, a career path. Or you may just want to, you're in school. If you're younger, you may still be in school or in college or something. Or you may be just taking your own personal development classes, whatever it may be. Anything that you want to learn and maximize your learning and inculcation and retention and absorption of the information and application of the information. If you link whatever you learn to whatever's highest on your value, you'll maximize its integration. I learned that many years ago, and I found it extremely powerful in allowing me to read 30,000 plus books now and remember the information. So here's a question that if you haven't written this down before from other tapes, or videos, you want to make sure you write this now. Whatever I'm about to read, whatever I'm about to study, whatever about the information that I'm here to learn for either purposes of work or whatever reason, how specifically is studying and learning this information, this topic, how is it helping me fulfill what is highest on my value, my number one value? You could go to the second, third value, but ask how specifically is learning this information going to help me fulfill my highest value? If your brain sees how you can fulfill your highest value at doing it, it absorbs it, it retains it, and it applies it. And it makes decisions quickly because of it, because of the retention. You look very carefully, you'll see children in school that get labeled attention deficit. But at the same time, they can be sitting at home and they can be doing video games for 6 hours with total focus. It's because the content at school that they're studying, they can't see how it's helping them fulfill their highest value. They're wanting to do their video games. And because they can't see it, they procrastinate, hesitate, frustrate, and they get hyperactive and distracted because it's not meaningful to them. And they feel forced and obligated to go and study that. But that's not because they have to be it that way. They could, and you could take that same child and ask, how is studying these classes, individual classes in school, helping to become video masters? If they can see how it helps them become a video master, if that's what their highest value is, they'll absorb the information, they'll retain it. I've taken thousands of children who have had difficulty learning and linked whatever they were learning in their classes at school to whatever's highest on their value. And they woke up their potential to learn, and they absorb the information. Because we literally have in our highest values the ability to perceive. We have in the thalamic region of our brain, which is subcortical, there's a pulvinar nuclei, which is an area that's involved in gating and filtering of information from our sensory perceptions. So anytime we're sensing something, reading or learning or hearing or audio or video, whatever form of learning input, whatever we're accessing, it goes through that thalamus up into the cortex, and we filter it out according to our values. So if we don't see how what we're studying is going to help us fulfill our highest values, we filter it out and we want to delete it. And we have attention deficit and retention deficit and imagination deficit and intention deficit. We don't want to use it because it seems to be pointless, and we don't want to waste the use of glucose and oxygen on something that's not meaningful, not purposeful in our life. So if you can't see how what you're studying is helping you fulfill your highest values, you end up with attention deficit. But once you can see by asking the question, how specifically is this material, this content helping me fulfill my highest values, you'll retain the information. And once you see it in your highest values, because you wake up genius when you're going after things that are inspiring to you but challenge you, you'll end up having creative application of that information. So you immediately get it and you'll innovate with it and create something and put it in action. And that, as an entrepreneur, gives you a competitive advantage, because now you're taking information that everybody else is studying possibly. Some people are filtering it out because they don't want it. You're taking it and using it creatively to go and innovate. So how specifically is the information that I'm about to study going to help me fulfill my highest values? My top 3 and my top one. The most important was the top one. And answer that question 10, 20, 30 or more times. The more you answer that and the more you see how it is, I assure you, the higher the audiographic and photographic memory you'll have of that information. I've been teaching, as I said, for 47 years. I still retain information from books over 40 years ago, primarily because I linked all of the information that I've been studying all these years to the evolution of human consciousness and the mastery of life. And as a result of that, I asked whether I'm studying geology or meteorology or astronomy or astrophysics or mathematics. It doesn't matter what I'm studying. I start with the question, how is studying this content going to help in the evolution of human consciousness and the mastery of life? If I make the links and take the time to do that in the beginning, the amount of reading time goes down, the amount of retention goes up, and the application of it goes up. And I'm now using my time and not wasting my time and learning something and having to relearn it, and all of a sudden shut down. Your reticular activating system shuts down if you're reading something that's not inspiring to you. And that goes back on. You almost end up with a narcoleptic kind of response when you're reading, like, oh, put me to sleep. That's a response of not seeing how it's engaging and how it's helping you fulfill what you're dreaming about. But if you actually make the links in advance, you'll retain the information and use it. And the faster you take information in and give it out to somebody else, the higher the retention rate. So I used to get up at 2 o'clock in the morning and do yoga for 30 minutes and stretch, and then start speed reading 4 to 7 books by 6:30 in the morning, 4 hours, and then go jogging, come back in, go to clinic and school, come back and teach that night on whatever I read that day. As long as I gave the information out, within that day, of the day I received the information, my mind kept that information all these years. So the faster you deliver that to somebody else, to what you input, the more genius you awaken, and the more you retain and autographically and photographically get that information. And the more fluently and congruently you can express the information at will, at any time. So link whatever you want to study to your highest values. I've had children in schools that were passing in the Alexandria Township in South Africa. We had a township, which is a very impoverished area of town. They gave me 1,000 students there to make a difference. And we did a survey beforehand, and they had a 27% pass rate. This is extreme impoverished area. And a lot of them don't even have parents. Some of their parents have died of age. They have a very substandard school system, but only 27 maybe out of 100 of those kids will ever finish high school and get a matric graduation. We went into the school. We took the students. Well, first we took the teachers. The week before school started, we found out what their highest values were. We took the classes they were about to teach. We linked those classes to their highest values and got them inspired and engaged to deliver that information. Then in the first week, the first day of the class that they started, we went with the students, find out what their values were, took the classes they were about to take for the term, linked it to their highest values. And then we had another session where the teacher and the students linked their values together. At the end of the year, after 4 sessions with them, 4 sessions, 97% of those students passed school, their matric. Now that may seem, it was extraordinary. I didn't expect that much myself originally. But that just to show that when people can see how what they're studying is helping them fulfill what's most meaningful to them, they become engaged, they have retention, and they apply, and they wake up their genius. So anything you want to learn, ask how specifically is what I'm about to study or learn going to help me fulfill my highest value. If you're attending a seminar, if you're going into reading a book, if you're watching a video, ask that question before you do and link it to your highest values and watch how that information will stick with you and how you'll apply it and how you'll be engaged with it. And you won't be put to sleep. You'll be actually awakened by it. You'll be inspired by the information. There's no reason why you can't live an inspired learning life. We spontaneously want to learn what's really most valuable to us. If we link things to what's valuable to us, we spontaneously want to learn it. Why go through struggles when you don't need to, when you can actually live a very inspired and expanded awareness life? So I just wanted to share that with the learning capacities. My advice is whatever you want to learn, put yourself to the test, because if you know you have a deadline to learn something, to apply it to a specific thing, you'll retain even more. So give yourself some purpose behind what you want to learn that information for. Link it to what you value most and put a deadline on what you're going to do with that, how you're going to apply it. And you're just making it easier on yourself when you're in the learning process. But that's just a little bit of a few nuggets there about the learning process, the waking up genius that you have. Don't ever let anybody tell you you don't have a genius. Everybody has a highest value, and everybody in that area has the capacity to wake up their genius. And so do you. You may already have recognized it, but in case you haven't, just know that what I just gave you will help open that doorway. So that's a little nugget on help you to master that one area of life, waking up your mental capacities. And if you also are making sure you drink water when you are reading, you make sure you have clear, beautiful light, not shadows all over the place. Make sure that you learn to use visual reading, not just audio reading, because you can only read as fast as you can speak if you don't use visual reading. Make sure you drink water, not teas and coffees and things that are stimulants that cause volatility, that fluctuates blood sugar, but drink water. That's the most universal solvent that keeps you steady and allows your brain to fire most efficiently. It decongests the lymphatic system and allows no toxins to not get accumulated, allows you to have the most clear mind. So drink a lot of water. Don't be afraid to take a break occasionally. When you do the break, think about how you want to apply the information. If you apply the information in your head, you'll have more of a motivation to retain it, more of an inspiration to retain the information. Anyway, that covers the first of the 7 areas of life. I now want to go over to vocational, because you're an entrepreneur in all probability, or you're on your way to being an entrepreneur. And just know that any area of your life you don't empower, people will overpower you. If you don't empower yourself intellectually and develop a great mind, you'll be told what to think. If you don't empower yourself in business, you'll be told what to do. If you don't empower yourself financially, you'll be told what you're worth. If you don't empower yourself in a relationship, you'll be pushed around by your spouse and probably lived in a trapped environment. If you don't empower yourself socially, you'll be probably taught propaganda that you've, and mores and traditions, conventions that may not be matching who you really are. If you don't empower yourself physically, you'll be told what drugs to take and what organs to remove. And if you don't empower yourself spiritually, you may be trapped in some dogmatic idea that's antiquated instead of living vicariously through an inspirational life. So it's important to empower these areas, because otherwise you'd be mediocrity instead of extraordinary. Now, this next area is vocation. And just know that nobody goes to work for the sake of a company. They go to work to fulfill what they value most. Back to values again. And you're going to work, and whenever you can perceive that the mission, primary objectives, and vision of the company and the job descriptions that you have in your job responsibilities, if you can see how they are all helping you fulfill your highest values, you're fully engaged. And you can't wait to go to work. And when you can't wait to get up in the morning and go and be of service to people, people can't wait to get your service. You'll be a magnet. You'll magnetize opportunity. You'll have more opportunities for promotions and many other things because you're fully engaged. And full engagement is the only way to be working. There's no reason to be doing something you're not inspired by. What I'm going to share with you right now, no matter what your job is, I'm going to give you the tools to take any job you're in, temporarily or long-term, and show how you can be inspired by it. So either go and do what you love through delegating or love what you do through linking, which is what I'm going to show you here. Just know that nobody goes to work, again, for the sake of a job. They go to work to fulfill their values. If they can see how the job descriptions that they're doing every day is helping them fulfill what they value most, they are going to be inspired to work. And when you're inspired to work, the day goes by quick, you're highly productive. At the end of the day, you feel like you got the most important things done, you live by priority, and you felt greater self-worth, and your net worth will show it. So here's the question you want to ask. Just like in the first area in the mind, there's a simple question to ask. How specifically is the job duties and responsibilities that I'm doing on a daily basis helping me fulfill my top 3 highest values, particularly the highest value? If you haven't got a clear job description, when you're writing down a job description of what you do in a day, write down all the independent actions you do, not broad labels like marketing or accounting. Those are too broad. I want the individual actions that you do on a daily basis, specific actions, and break them down into bite-sized little actions that you do that day, not projects that take days, weeks, or months, but that day. Break them down into those actions. Take about 3 months worth of all the actions you might do during a 3-month period, put them into an exhaustive list, and go through each one of those and ask the question, how specifically is doing this action going to help me fulfill my highest value? Your first response on some of them are going to be, it doesn't. But that's because if you take from that perspective, you'll be a victim of history. You'll be going, I'm a victim of that job. I hate that job. That's not the way to run your life. It's nothing to do with what goes on around you. You have control of your perceptions, decisions, and actions. So you can either prioritize what you're doing and delegating those things, or you can link those to your highest values and get engaged. And that's the way to start. So go and ask, how specifically is that action going to help you fulfill your highest value? And don't come up with, I don't know, I can't see it. It doesn't. Answer the question, be accountable. People are accountable, go places. People are not accountable, blame places. Go and ask how specifically this action step today is going to help me fulfill my highest values. And answer that 20 or 30 times. The more you answer it, the more engaged you'll be. The more engaged you'll be, the easier your job is. And the more you feel like you're doing what you love. And the more the opportunity for promotions, opportunities, etc. And even if you know you're going to be going off to your own entrepreneurial adventure, going off another company somewhere, still, you might as well be inspired until you do. And you could even ask this question, how is doing this action right now in my job, how is it temporarily helping me fulfill my highest values? And how is it on the way to my next career path? How is it a stepping stone? I've had people come in and say, well, I hate this job and I don't like doing this and it's boring and it's draining me and that kind of thing. And I go, so how's it helping you? I don't know. Look again. Then they realize they're making contacts with people that are networks. They're making new friends. They're learning how to generate income and save. And that saving is giving them cash flow to that next job opportunity. They're learning skills. They're learning how to manage people. When they start looking at all the benefits of each of those job duties, all of a sudden they lighten up. And then they realize, there's no mistake. See, if you look at your life and you think there's been some sort of mistake in your life, you missed it. That's not how to run your life. You want to ask that no matter what's happening in your life, how is it on the way to where I want to go instead of in the way? If you see it in the way, you drain yourself and beat yourself up and get angry and then dissociate and instead of empower yourself. But if you ask, how specifically this action helping me fulfill my highest value, it'll fuel you. You'll actually have energy. When you're doing what's highest on your value, at the end of the day, you have more energy than when you started. When you're doing things low or you're perceiving them low, you're drained. Why would you want to go and have a drained day? It's absolutely insane to think that way. All you have to do is ask, how specifically is doing what I'm doing in my job helping me fulfill my highest value? And then how is temporarily in this company fulfilling the mission and primary objective and vision of this company, how does it help me fulfill my value? If you can see how they are, even if it's temporary until you start your own business, you'll be more engaged, more inspired, more opportunities, and you'll be more magnetic, and you'll have more confidence to realize, and you train yourself that no matter what happens in a day, you can turn it into an opportunity. The leader in business is a person who can take no matter what happens and use it to their advantage. You might as well practice that right now. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, it's going to be useful the rest of your life. So ask how specifically, instead of being a victim of your job, be a master of your job. How specifically is this job duty helping you fulfill your highest value? Answer that question 20, 30 times and go down the list of job description, each of those actions, and do that for every one of them. It may take you a few hours to do. You may have to do it over a few lunches, but you'll feel the lightness. You'll feel inspired. You'll be more innovative. You'll be more creative. You'll be more engaged. You'll see it as a stepping stone to what you're doing next. And you'll end up, if you are in a job that you're staying with, you have a higher probability of promotion and opportunities. And if it's something you're transiently doing on your way to being an entrepreneur or working in some other company, it's the perfect way of getting a transition to it. And you've learned how to master no matter what happens. Again, it's not what happens to you. You're not a victim of the outside world. It's about how you perceive it. You have command over your perceptions. So taking the time to do that. Then within the job description, you want to do a certain set of actions. You want to make a list of everything that you're doing. You want to then make a list next to it of what does it produce per hour. Then next to that, you want another column that's basically how much meaning is it having. And then next to that is how much would it cost if you were to delegate it? Because even if you're working for somebody else and you think you can't delegate, if you can prove to the head of the company or whoever is superior to that position, if you can prove to them that you can actually make the company more by delegating and freeing you up to do the more important things and the more productive things, you're smart. And if they're not smart enough to grasp that for the sake of the company, it'll encourage you to start your own business. You can't lose by doing that. Then write down how much time is spent, and then write down the priorities. If you stay with the highest priority actions and produce the most productive and meaningful things that give you the biggest spreads between what it produces and what it costs to delegate, you liberate yourself, you end up with more productivity, you become more valuable to the company, you demand more, and you could be an entrepreneur inside your own company on your way to being an entrepreneur with your own company. And this process right here is what frees you up to do something more extraordinary with your life. So if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that inspire you, it's designed to fill up with low priority distractions that don't. And every symptom in a company is a feedback to make sure you're going back to priority, doing the most inspiring, most productive, most purposeful action. So if you do that, your business will flourish and you'll end up with more opportunities as an entrepreneur in the future. And by doing it, why not learn and master, even if you're working with somebody else, why not master that? If you know how to do that, you know how to then share that with the people that you end up hiring in your own company. And you can train them on doing it because you've mastered it. You know what to do and you know the differences that it takes to do it. In the process of doing it, you'll be able to have a more empowered and a more engaged employees when you're working in your own company in the future. So that's something that would help in the business. But just know that if you don't prioritize what you're doing and live by priority, you automatically create a scattered, dissipated energy, which does not lead to the greatest financial results or fulfillment results. So either go and do what you love through delegation or love what you do through linking. That's the key to the mastery of the business world. And now I'd like to go on to the financial area of life. And I hope that we've covered two areas right now. Your mind is probably a little bit electrified and thinking about creative ideas. I'm probably speaking a bit fast. You may have to watch this a few times. Hopefully you're taking notes. And I'm absolutely certain these things are valuable. I've been consulting and helping people for many, many decades, helping people with this mastery of these games and these areas. And so I know it'll work. It's just a matter of implementing it. The next area is finances. Now just know that the hierarchy of your values dictates your financial destiny. And I'm going to say that again. The hierarchy of your values, the set of priorities you live by, will determine your financial destiny. So whatever's highest on your value is what you spontaneously do, and where you have the most order and organization. And whatever's low on your value, you have chaos. And when the money automatically circulates through the economy from those who value it least to those who value it most, and for those who have the least order around it to those that have the most order around it. Just like a relationship, if it's not valued, it goes somewhere else. And money, if it's not appreciated and valued, and it's not put where it goes up in value, it wants to grow. And it's like a consciousness. It wants to evolve itself. And if it doesn't get treated where it's put into something that appreciates in value, it moves out of your hands to people's other hands who put it in something that goes up in value. So your job is to make sure that you have a value on wealth building if you want to have wealth in your life. Now, let me rephrase that. Everybody has wealth, genuine wealth in their life in the areas that they value most. But I'm talking about financial wealth. You're not going to have financial wealth if you have a low value on wealth building. Financial wealth building, you have to have a value on and mastery and learning about how to manage money. When money comes into your life, whatever the source is from wherever you're working, the way you have your hierarchy of values is how you spend it. So if your highest value is buying Jimmy Choo shoes and going out and getting clothes and going out on trips and then spending it on nice dinners and nice wines and things of this nature, and you have a low value on putting it into assets that's appreciating in value, like properties of rental properties or stocks and shares and stocks, then you're probably going to have more month at the end of your money than money at the end of your month. You have to have a value on wealth building for that to actually manifest. And so just know that money circulates through the economy, as I said, to those who value it and that those who have an understanding of what to do with it. Why would more money come to you if you don't know how to manage what you got? Once you manage it wisely, you get more money to manage. So you want to ask yourself, go through your value determination, and let's take a look carefully at where wealth building is. I've had people go through, tens of thousands of people go through and do a value determination. And believe it or not, less than 30% of the people that do that have financial wealth on their list in the top 3. It's not on the list. And they wonder why they can't get ahead financially. If it's not in the top 3 or 4 of your values, financial independence, in my observation, interviewing thousands of people, is not going to happen. I ask people all the time, how many of you want to be financially independent? Everybody puts their hands up. I ask how many of you are, and all the hands go down. Less than 1% make it. So there's a big discrepancy between all the fantasy people that think they want to have financial independence and the actual people that do. And the reason being, I guarantee you, is the values that they hold, because that's what's determining how they're spending their money. And it has nothing to do with how much you make. It's how you spend it. I met a gentleman who had $6.29 million in 1 year income. At the end of the year, he had to borrow $327,000 to pay the IRS and to pay back taxes and stuff. because he basically didn't have a value on investing. He was not buying investments. He's buying fancy cars, buying little yachts, buying a big house, going on trips, having giant parties, buying art, but he didn't have a value on paying taxes. He didn't have any value on investing, and he was living month to month with that type of income. What was interesting, in his office, when I went to consult with him, I met a secretary that only made $24,000 a month, a little assistant he had. She was saving $400 a month, and she was closer to financial independence than he will be, because she had a moderate lifestyle but was saving 20% of her income. And as a result of saving that $400 a month, she was moving closer to financial independence than he ever would. So it has nothing to do with how much you make. It has everything to do with how you manage what you make. And the hierarchy of your values dictates that. So if you discover your values and you find out that wealth building is not on the top four, which is what I've seen in the wealthy people, then you're probably going to have to elevate the values if you want to have financial independence. And there's no reason why you can't, but you're going to have a shift in values. And know that your values go up the list every time you put more advantages to something, to the actions, and it goes down the list every time you put disadvantages. So the question you want to ask is, identify the highest priority actions that have proven to build wealth in life. And then what you do is you ask, how specifically is doing these actions going to help me fulfill my current highest values? And how specifically is it just going to benefit my life in general? If I stack up enough reasons for doing it and I keep stacking up the benefits, once the why is big enough and the advantages are big enough, I'll find a change in my behavior and I'll start doing it. Once you have enough reasons for doing it, because every decision you make is based on what you believe will give you the greatest advantage or disadvantage. And if you don't have more advantages of saving and investing and putting it into assets and building wealth than you do by spending it on consumables that depreciate in value, you're going to keep spending it on depreciables instead of buying appreciables. And you can't get ahead buying depreciables. You're just going to get behind every single month. So you got to stack up the highest priority actions to get you that wealth. Now, there's a series of action steps that I've seen. One of them is, no matter how much money you take, a portion of that needs to go into a savings program. And that needs to build up a cushion until you have at least 3 to 6 months worth of liquid capital. That way you have a stable, less volatile, less emotional state that's not touchable. You're not here to use it for emergencies. It's just there as a stable backup cushion for your company and for you. And you put a savings in place and you do it automatically, electronically, without emotions. You just have a financial institution take money out of your bank account every single 2 weeks or every month, and it goes into it and it's a saving. And you want to make sure that you accelerate that and increase that every few months. Once you get the habit of a certain amount, kick it up a little bit more. Kick it up again and keep increasing it. It's accelerated savings that starts the ball in motion. If you have 100 benefits or even 200 benefits of doing that action where you can't even have any emotions about it, it just happens, and you do it electronically, you'll find out that the more you start to manage money wisely and save it, the more money comes to you. More clients, more people take you to lunch, more opportunities come. You get more efficient. You get less cost in your business and more returns. You have less unexpected bills. Things shift when you value money that way. Then what you do is you now have to go and buy assets. So you have to study what are assets, either buying quality stocks with index funds or learning about individual stocks. But you want to make sure that you're putting it into something that is going to appreciate in value, not a speculation, not some gambling system, not speculating with trading, but actually buying assets that you know has a track record of giving you a return that's moderate. And you want to earn the right to risk by consistently going up that list of from those that are most conservative to those that are less conservative. But you then go and write down benefits of actually now and putting your money from your savings now into your investments. So you've got a base of savings. Now, once you reach a certain base level, now everything on top of that on a weekly or monthly basis now goes into investments, and you start buying assets. And what's happening is you now run a projection. You actually run a projection. If I continue to save what I'm saving and invest what I'm investing, where will it be a year from now, 5, 10, 20? So you use it as an incentive to keep yourself on track, to keep accelerating the savings and investments consistently. If you do that, you're going to start moving about it. You're going to see something grow like a child, and you're going to want to study it. And then I would encourage you as another action step is to study and make it a commitment to read or get mentorship and have people that are already farther along in the wealth building, at least 10 times where you are, as a mentoring mechanism to save yourself from reinventing the wheel, either by reading books, watching videos, or getting mentorship to consistently do it. But beware of people that are wanting to get rich quick and be getting ready to buy speculations and gambling and things of this nature. A real investor that has real assets, that has a conservative approach, and let you do it in step by step, methodically, that's where you want to put your time and allow yourself to get really educated truly about wealth building. There's so much out there that's not so. Dirac, the Nobel Prize winner, said, it's not that we don't know so much, we know so much that isn't so. And there's lots of get rich schemes out there and lots of things that distract you. To get your money, you want to be conservative. As Warren Buffett says, rule number 1 is don't lose your money. Rule number 2 is don't forget rule number 1. Don't throw away your money. Put it into conservative asset building, accumulating, wealth building asset. If you do, you'll grow your wealth. And if you do, it's wise to be patient with it because the volatilities can disturb your emotions and make you do foolish things. But methodical, conservative, consecutive investment processes like that will help you build wealth. There's no reason to have to go and do it overnight. It's best to be patient, do a long-term vision. Those with long-term visions do farther in wealth building than the people who want immediate gratification. Then you want to make sure you write down some more benefits of serving vast numbers of people. There's absolutely no lack of money in the world, and there's no reason why we can't earn more and therefore save more. So the more we're committed to saving, the more we're committed to serving. And if we go and serve more people and make sure we're meeting people's needs and commit to actually providing effective and efficient services to people, then we have a greater income to put more into savings and investments. And I started doing that when I was 28 years old. Prior to 28, I bought things, so I saved money to buy things that depreciated. But at age 28, I really got serious about building wealth. And I methodically did that for 36, now 37 years, and became financially independent in 9 years. 9 years, I didn't have to do the work. I did it because I love to. Now it's accumulated vastly past that. But it's basically a methodical, consistent, conservative, methodical, strategic objective of building wealth and making sure you stack up enough benefits on your values that you see the behavioral changes that actually get you that result. So you identify the highest priority actions that have proven to build wealth. You stack up the benefits of how doing those actions will help you in your life, get general benefits, and then how will it specifically help you in your highest values. When you do, wealth building goes higher on your value list, and you actually now have the possibility of being that 1%er or half a percenter. Even the 1%ers today only mean a couple $1 million. Financial independence doesn't even begin until around 10 million. 20 million is even more powerful. So you want to make sure that you think long-term and think about caring enough about humanity to serve humanity to build the wealth that you want, because there's no reason why you can't do it. Going to work, the purpose of building wealth, financial wealth, is not just because you got a lot of money and you go out and blow it and spend it on things. That's not what it's about. It's about going out there and building enough wealth where you don't have to work. You're working because you love to, and you're exemplifying what's possible. And then you have options in life. And you can raise the lifestyle if you want, but I tell people, don't raise the lifestyle unless you raise your savings and investments and taxes to the same degree. Because otherwise, people that just raise their lifestyle get back in debt, and they're really not wealth builders. They're lifestyles of the rich and famous that are poor. You'd be surprised how many people, even in Hollywood and even in the richest areas of your town and your city, are the big houses. Some of them are in debt. They don't have wealth. So don't be confused by having lifestyle with wealth building, because sometimes the wealthiest people have simple lifestyles. Sometimes the poorest people have big lifestyles and no assets and then end up bankrupt. So don't confuse lifestyle with wealth building. Stack up the action steps that help you build wealth and keep writing down the benefits until you see a change in behavior and you're automatically saving and investing and you're doing it and you're studying it. When you know you're doing that, you know you're on track. But if at the end of each month, you're not a little bit further on your finances, keep stacking up the benefits. All I know is that I patiently did that and it changed my financial destiny. Now, that's something about finances. Now let's go over to relationship, because that's another area, because you can build all the wealth you want and then undermine your relationship and cut your wealth in half, and then distract yourself from your business and then collapse the whole thing and then end up feeling stupid. And then you've ended up not mastered your life. So you want to be able to also master relationships, and you want to select wisely in relationships. Just because somebody's cute doesn't mean that that's a good investment. So beware of being just physically attractive, because you could be buying some depreciating asset, which is looks, instead of a big picture. You want somebody that's got all 7 areas in their life empowered as much as possible. If all you're doing is getting somebody that's cute, got a nice bod or whatever, and that goes down in value in their 40s and 50s and 60s, then you're going to go, I got nothing else going for it. Try to get a package. Be patient. Don't impulse yourself. Don't go by immediate gratification. Think. Value yourself enough to say, I want a quality relationship and I want to present a quality individual to get it. They're asking what's in it for them. When you come and approach them, you want to ask what's in it for you. And you want to make sure that you're offering a value by empowering all these areas and getting a value by having them empowered in those areas. And don't settle for less. Get somebody that matches, that can banter with you, that can hold you accountable, that's not just something that you're infatuated temporarily. Those can cost you. But what you want to do in the relationship is know that they want to be loved for who they are, and you want to be loved for who you are. And who you are is an expression of your highest values. So your highest value particularly. My highest value is research teaching. Teaching. I teach every day. There's 224 speeches so far this year already. So in the process of doing that, I have a high value on that. My identity revolves around that high value. So whatever the person's highest value is who they are, and they want to be loved and appreciated for that. And they want to be appreciated for both sides. If I went up to you and I said to you, you're always nice, you're never mean. You're always kind, you're never cruel. You're always generous, you're never stingy. You're always giving, you're never taking. You're always peaceful, never wrathful. You're always positive, never negative. Always considerate, never inconsiderate. If I was to say that to you, your bullshit meter would go off and you'd say, nah, that's not exactly it. I have the other side too. And if I went to you're always mean and never nice, always cruel, never kind, always taking, never giving, always stingy, never generous, always inconsiderate, never considerate, always wrathful, never peaceful, always negative, never positive, you'd say, no, that's not me either. But if I said to you, sometimes you're nice, sometimes you're mean, sometimes you're kind, sometimes you're cruel, sometimes you're positive, sometimes you're negative, sometimes you're giving, sometimes you're taking, you'd immediately go, yeah, that's me. I have times when I'm playing both sides. Just know that people want to be loved for both sides. You want to be loved for both sides. If you expect somebody to be one-sided, you have a delusion, and you're going to end up with the ABCDs of negativity. You're going to end up with anger and aggression, blame and feelings of betrayal, criticism and challenge, despair and depression. You want to exit and escape their lives. You'll be futile and frustrated. You'll be grouchy and grieving and hatred and hurt. And those A, B, C, D, F, G, H's of negativity are symptoms of putting an unrealistic expectation on other people to be one-sided or to live in your values, not their own values. Every decision they make is based on their values and whatever will give them the greatest advantage or disadvantage in that value structure. So if you expect them to live in your values or to be one-sided, you're going to end up undermining your relationship. They want to be loved for who they are. Who they are is both-sided. You're going to appreciate both sides if you have an expectation for them to be both-sided. You can't set and expect them to be nice, never mean, kind, never cruel. It's not going to happen. You can't expect them to live in your values. That's not going to happen. If any two people were the same, one would not be necessary. So you want to make sure that you have a realistic expectation by knowing your partner's values. Take the time to do the value determination with them and on yourself, and know that whatever that is, that's what they're committed to. They're committed and loyal not to you. Nobody's ever going to be committed and loyal to you as much as you fantasize about it. They're committed and they're loyal and dedicated to what they value most. That's who they are. They want to be fulfilled. So you want to ask a simple question. Here's the question that goes with each of these areas. How specifically is their top 3 highest values, what they're dedicated to most, what they're inspired by? How is it helping you fulfill what you're dedicated to, your highest values? And you want to answer that. And the more answers you have, the more you're going to respect and love that person. And the more you then reverse that, and now you say, how specifically is my top 3 highest values helping them fulfill their top 3 highest values? If I ask that question and answer that as many times as possible, I'll have more information to communicate in a dialogue with them with equity instead of alternating monologues where I'm talking down to them with a careless attitude or looking up to them and walking on eggshells with a careful attitude. No, those are not where the power is. Those are alternating monologues. What is the key is having a respectful, matching, equal energy where you respect them because you can see how their values serve you and your values serve them, and you respect each other. Now you have a dialogue. A dialogue is a respectful listening when they're speaking and they listen when you speak. People want to be communicated and they want to be heard. And if you're self-righteous looking down and expecting them to live in your values, you're not hearing them. You're just demanding. And as a result of that, you're undermining the relationship. Anytime you put them on pedestals or in pits and not put them in your heart, you're undermining your relationship. If they're doing the same, they're doing the same thing and undermining the relationship. So take the time to ask how specifically is what they're dedicated to helping you fulfill what you're dedicated to, and answer that as many times as possible. How's what you're dedicated helping them what they're dedicated to? Make sure you have connections. You have way more information to communicate with. You won't be bored with each other. You won't be trying to fix each other. They don't want to be changed. They don't want to be fixed. They want to be loved and appreciated for who they are. And you have to empower all 7 areas of life, because remember, the reason why they're looking for you is because they think that they're going to get more advantage by being with you over other people. If you go in a relationship and you had your life together and you're empowered, and all of a sudden you drop your business, you drop your health, you're not making any money, you're squandering money, you're gambling your money, you're treating your spouse poorly, they're not committed to you. They're going to go find somebody else. Anything you're not willing to do for your mate, you better be willing to delegate. Somebody else is going to come in because they're not committed to you. They're committed to what they value most. Got to get that in there. And if you have conflict, which is periodically, you're going to have peace and war in that relationship. When you have conflict, if you're expecting peace and then all of a sudden you get conflict and you're now wounded by it, you better learn how to use the Demartini method on that by asking what specific trait, action, inaction do you perceive your mate displaying or demonstrating that you're despising or hating most? Good. Once you know that, be specific, then go to a moment where and when you perceive yourself displaying or demonstrating the same or similar specific trait, action, inaction that you saw in them now in you, and find out where you've done that. Because that way you're plucking the mote out of your own eye before you're plucking out of theirs. And you're humbling yourself and realizing that whatever you see in them that's causing resentment is something you're doing that you're ashamed of. And that's why they're bringing it out of you. That's why you're hurt. It's not because of their actions. It's because of what you've done in the past they're reminding you of. Then go to the moment where and when they displayed the trait, action, inaction. And in the moment they demonstrated it, how did it serve you? And how did it serve you from that day forward to today? If you find out how it serves you and find the benefit of it, you don't become victim of history. You become master of destiny. And then you realize that they're your teacher and they're there pushing your buttons to make sure that you're authentic and you learn to love yourself. If you puff yourself up and talk down to them, or minimize yourself and talk up to them, instead of actually talk across to them, you're going to undermine the relationship. By going in there and having reflective awareness and realizing whatever they've done, you've done, it levels it. It causes you to not to be wounded and accumulate a bunch of subconscious baggage, and allows you to move forward in your relationship dynamics and be adaptable. When you're living by your highest value and you're living by priority at work and you're doing what's meaningful and you're learning what's inspiring to you, you're more resilient and adaptable, and you're more able to handle whatever happens in the relationship. And it will help the relationship move forward. And just know that whatever their values are, they're going to change over time. So about every quarter, you want to update what their values are and what your values are, and make the links between them, and then use the Demartini method to dissolve any baggage that accumulates. Better to accumulate little and dissolve it as it goes than to accumulate so much that it's overwhelming and say, throw in the towel. And however long the relationship is, be grateful for it, and know that that relationship is there as a chapter in your life, if it's not for your life, and it's there to teach you how to love a part of you that you've maybe had difficulty loving. Now, as far as relationship, now we go to social. In the social area of life, anytime you're living by your highest values, you're waking up your leader. And anytime you do, as I said, you also wake up your genius. You also wake up your capacity to serve more. And anytime you're living by your highest values, your natural born leader automatically comes to the surface. And you automatically have a yearning to embrace pains and pleasures and to solve problems. And you tend to walk your talk and exemplify life. And you have more confidence and belief in yourself. And your self-worth goes up. And these are all signs of a leader. So if every single day, if you ask yourself, what is the highest priority actions I can do today to help me fulfill what's most meaningful to me? The moment you live by priority, your leader automatically emerges. Living by priority is the key to authentic, congruent, integral leadership. And know that everybody around you is automatically wanting to master their life. And if they see somebody exemplifying a mastered life and a prioritized life, they're drawn and magnetized to it like a student drawn to a mentor. So if you exemplify that, as Einstein said, the greatest teacher is exemplification. If you exemplify that leadership role and you are clear about what it is, when you live by your highest values, you get your executive center comes online with glucose and blood and oxygen, and inspired vision, strategic planning, executing plans, and self-governance comes in. All the signs of the leader and all the signs of self-mastery. And so every time you prioritize, your master comes alive. And every time you don't, and you allow the world on the outside to dictate it, you become a follower and you become a victim of history, not a master of destiny. You become conformity instead of enormity. And you envy and imitate other people instead of actually lead people. You want to be an unborrowed visionary, somebody that's willing to go after and do what they really love to do and do it in an inspiring way. If you do that, you'll give yourself permission to shine, not shrink, and do something extraordinary, not ordinary. So first you want to prioritize, and every day you ask yourself, what is the highest priority action I can do today that can help me fulfill my mission on planet Earth? What is the highest priority action I can do today? Or in my case, I started with the top 7. What are the 7 highest priority actions I can do today to help me fulfill my mission on Earth? But you could actually get it down to the 1, and then when that one's done, go to the next one. It's wise to chunk down your goals into daily bites, because you build momentum and you're like a domino effect. You grow in bigger domino gets knocked over because you stay focused on ever greater actions. It's the little daily actions that make big impacts. Piggy banks become biggie banks, as I said. So you want to make sure that you're living by the highest priorities as you possibly can each day in order to master and become your natural born leader. People say they want to make a difference, no matter where I've been, from prisons all the way to working with governments at the highest level. When I ask people how many want to make a difference, every hand goes up. But how are you going to make a difference if you're subordinating to everybody else and fitting in? You only make a difference when you stand out, live congruently in your own hierarchy of values, and have an original set of values that's unique like a fingerprint. That's where you make the biggest difference, being the most authentic you. So in the area of leadership, know that if you follow what's really, truly calling of your heart, the highest value, you'll naturally wake up your leader. There's also 5 S's of leadership. You want to know what your service is? What are you going to lead? You want to make sure that you have specialized knowledge so it's believable, so that people respect you for that knowledge as a leader. You want to learn how to speak, because if you can't orate and communicate clearly what it is, the knowledge that you have, people won't probably follow you as well. So learn how to speak. You want to learn how to sell. That means to communicate what it is that you want to lead and what you want to bring the people to in a way that meets their needs. And then you want to learn how to save, because no matter what you do out there, you want to make sure that you invest and build your wealth. Because if you have wealth, it just makes it easier to be the leader. Because the majority of people don't end up with wealth. And whoever does automatically moves in the top 20% of the 20% of the 20% of the world. So go and develop those 5 S's of leadership. Know your service, know your specialized knowledge, know how to speak, know how to sell, and know how to save. Those 5 S's will help those leadership capacities grow. In the next area is your physical body. Your physical body is creating signs and symptoms constantly to try to get you to be authentic. We've lost the ability to, most people have lost the ability to know what the signs and symptoms of their body are really referencing. We're so used to taking a pill for every ill and get rid of symptoms and think that health is symptom-free. But really, if you went out and pigged out and ate giant bowls of food and you woke up with a bellyache and sniffled noses and cramps and gas and bloat and everything else the next day, it's not because you have a shortage of antibiotics and a shortage of anti-flatulence and antihistamines. It's because you pigged out and your body's giving you symptoms, and the symptoms are not disease. The symptoms are healthy responses to a pigging out. If you eat wisely, you don't get those symptoms. So symptoms are not necessarily signs of illness. Symptoms can be signs of health, signs of wellness. So learning what the signs are is essential for you to master your life. I spent many years and 4+ decades studying this. I wrote a 1,000-page textbook on all the different conditions and what the psychology of these things are. But I can tell you that you have a set of values. Whenever you see things support your values, you activate the parasympathetic nervous system. Whenever you see things challenging your values, you activate the sympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system of the autonomic nervous system has special hormones and translators that they release. They go to cells. They activate cell wall receptors. They then activate calmodulin and cyclic AMP and cyclic GMP. They cause a cascade of enzymes. They go to the nucleus and epigenetically code the genes to express different proteins that create health or disease. So our perceptions are creating symptoms. And if we know what the symptoms mean by studying and paying close attention to our behavior and our attitude, we can actually see that our symptoms aren't our enemies. Our symptoms are actually guiding us to live a more balanced and more moderated life. It's trying to make us live by our highest values, in fact. When we're living by our lowest values, we tend to become more extreme, more volatile, out of governance. We live by our highest values, we become more moderate, more resilient and adaptable, more eustressful instead of distressful. So all the symptoms your body is trying to create are trying to guide you to that. And that's why I tell people to drink water, because water is a universal solvent that keeps the pH in balance. If you go towards something to support your values, you get alkaline. If you go towards something to challenge your values, you get acidic. One's anabolic, one's catabolic, one's reductive, one's oxidative. When actually you balance out your mind and see both sides synchronously, support and challenge, and have a poised mind, your autonomic come into balance, your chemistry comes into balance, and water is the most universal solvent to reduce the volatilities in your state. And people live longer when they have less volatility, and they live shorter lives when there's volatility and irrationality going on in their psyche and in their body's response. So drinking water, breathing deeply, having a mission to live by, fulfilling and mastering the 7 areas of life, which are less distressful, focusing on what's really most meaningful in your life, because that's where you end up being more innovative and creative, and that's where you have the most resilience and adaptability, because stress is the inability to adapt to a changing environment. And if you're living in a way where you're adaptable and inspiring and tackle challenges and embrace challenges, you're going to end up having more longevity. In fact, the telomeres of your genes have telomerase enzyme. When you're living in your highest values, telomerase enzyme goes up, the telomeres get longer, and you live a longer life to fulfill a longer vision. But when you're not living by your highest values, your telomerase goes down, you shorten your genes, you have a shorter life. People who live by their highest values tend to have a longer life. They have a purpose in life. And people that don't feel purposeless. And they look for immediate gratification. And addictive, consumptive, impulsive, compulsive behaviors are a byproduct of unfulfilled highest values. I can't escape the value structure in every one of these 7 areas of life that you're here to master. And so you want to make sure that you live by your highest priorities each day, because all 7 areas of your life are impacted and empowered by them. So if you want to master your life, you must start with those values, in my opinion, to be able to get the most out of your life. Your physiology is trying to everything it can to guide you to that state. In the last section on this 7 area of life wheel is spirituality, or at least inspiration. When you're living by your highest value, you are spontaneously inspired from within. When you're living by your lower values, you need motivation for that. And motivation is a symptom, never a solution for humanity. The person who is really inspired automatically wakes up their leader. When you have to be reminded to do something, you're not a leader. When you're doing something spontaneously because you love doing it, you're a leader. And so too, when you're fulfilling on a daily basis what's highest on your value, you fulfill an inspired life. You magnetize people, places, things, ideas, and events in life to help you fulfill that, because everyone wants to be around somebody who's inspired on a mission. They want to be part of something that's greater than themselves. If you want to make a difference in yourself, you need a vision as big as your family, at least. You want to make a difference in your family, you need a vision as big as your community. You want to make a difference in your community, you need a vision as big as your city. You want to make a difference in your city, you need a vision as big as your state. You want to make a difference in your state, you need a vision as big as your country. You want to be number 1 in the country, you need a vision that's as big as this world, a global vision. If you want to make a global impact on this world and have something that inspires, that leaves a mark and leaves a legacy, you need to have an astronomical vision. The magnitude of space and time in your innermost dominant thought will determine the level of conscious evolution you've attained. And every time you live by your highest values, the space and time horizons expand. And once they expand beyond your own mortality, you leave your legacy. And you're here to leave a mark in the world. You want to make a difference. The Roman poet and politician Seneca said, do not look to the people around you in your immediate time and frame for fame and fortune, but to plan an action step that's for the next generation and the next generation, and think in terms of a century or even a millennia. The factory worker lives day to day. The supervisor lives week to week. The lower management month to month. Middle management year to year. Upper management decade to decade. Basically, the CEO of the company thinks in terms of a generation. The visionary thinks in terms of a century. The master, the person that's actually the great master and the sage, is thinking in terms of a millennium. But the soul thinks in terms of eternity. The magnitude of that space and time in your innermost dominant thought will determine the level of conscious evolution you've attained and the mastery of the 7 areas of life that you're going to do. So it starts with a clear vision. And when you live by your highest priorities, that inspired vision comes clear and you see it. And your vitality in life is directly proportional to the vividness of that vision. And the way you know you have a clear vision is you can articulate fluently, congruently, the vision in the form of a message. And you can articulate that message out to the world. Just like in the leadership role, know your service and be able to have specialized knowledge and be able to speak about it. You can articulate that vision clearly and see it in your mind's eye. And once you see it in your mind's eye, you can create it in your reality. There's no reason why you can't leave a massive impact on the world if that's what you desire. You know, as Rose Kennedy, her mission statement, that I dedicate my life to raising a family of world leaders. Whether you're dedicated to family, you can make an impact in the world, or business, or social causes. I've met people in every one of the 7 areas of life that have massive impact on the world. And the things that they have is a clear vision. And the people that have a clear vision are people that live congruently by their highest value. I actually did a evaluation on thousands of people on their value determination. And I found one lady who was in Israel, had an absolutely congruent list of values, most congruent I'd ever seen. She has a massive influence in the country of Israel. really amazing to see. She's a perfect example of a congruent individual in life. There's no reason why you can't live a congruent life. That's why I started with values and I'm now ending on values. You want to make sure that you identify what's truly highest in value, do this every quarter, keep current with it, and make sure that you're linking all the knowledge you want to do to that. You're linking your job description and the mission of your company to that. You're raising things high on your values in finances to that. You're basically communicating that in your relationship. You're living congruently as a leader doing that. You're knowing by doing that, you change your physiology to be a great leader with vitality, and you're living an inspired life. And there's absolutely nothing stopping you from living an inspired entrepreneurial life, doing something extraordinary on planet Earth. So you want to give yourself permission to be that. Do something extraordinary on planet Earth. Because the real nature, your true nature, is somebody extraordinary, somebody that's magnificent, not somebody insignificant. And to the degree that you live congruently with your highest values, you get to discover that. So I just want to go through those 7 areas, spend some time on practically what you can do about it, keep you reminded of the importance of living by these values, keep current with those values, and know that if you start to invest in yourself in education and invest in yourself economically, invest in each of these areas, there's no reason why you can't empower all of them. You want to ask, see, at the level of the essence of the soul, nothing's missing in you. In the level of your existence of your senses, things appear to be missing in you. You want to transcend the sensory illusions and get on with what the calling inside you that sees beyond the obstacles. When you see everything on the way, not in the way, you're grateful for life and you build momentum. And so you want to make sure that you go through the perspective of no matter what's happening to me today, how is it helping me fulfill my mission? There's 7 questions you might want to, I'll close on here. Number 1 is, what is it I would absolutely love to do on this planet? Number 2, what are the highest priority action steps I can do on that? Number 3, to make it happen. Number 3, how do I get handsomely and beautifully paid to do it? Number 4, what obstacles might I run into and how do I solve and advance strategically? Next is, what is it, how did whatever happen today, how did it work? And how did it help me get what I want? And also, how can I do it more effectively and efficiently tomorrow? If you ask those questions on a daily basis, you're just going to build even more powerful momentum in the empowerment of the 7 areas of life. I started this little video segment on the mastery and empowering the 7 areas of life. I started out at 18 having a desire to do that. I've now been blessed to have all of those things come true. I'm now having the opportunity to wake up my genius with original ideas and serving people around the world by the millions. I actually have an international business with students in every country around the world today. I actually have financial independence. I have a global family dynamic. I have social influence and met amazing people, over 1,000 people that are doing moving and shaking on the planet. I've got a physical, vital body, and I'm definitely inspired by my life. It's impossible to convince me you can't do that. So don't let any human being on the face of the earth stop you from knowing that you have the power to do something extraordinary on planet Earth. So that's my video presentation today. You might want to go over this more than once. I know I spoke a bit fast in there. I was trying to get it within a certain time frame, but at the same time, just know that you have the capacity to absorb that information and apply it and do something extraordinary with your life. I look forward to hearing about what impact it's had, and may you go out and do truly what you feel called to do on planet Earth.